In a quiet African village, surrounded by tall palm trees and red earth roads, there lived a woman named Adanna. For many years, Adanna prayed for the gift of a child. Every morning, she would rise before the sun, kneel on the cool floor of her small mud house, and whisper prayers. While other women carried babies on their backs to the farm, Adanna carried only her basket of tools and her unspoken longing. Seasons passed. Rains came and went. Neighbors pitied her, and some even mocked her, saying, "A woman without a child is like a river without water." Yet Adanna held her faith close to her chest. She believed that one day, the heavens would hear her cries. Then, after many years, the miracle came. One Harmattan morning, when the dry wind blew dust through the village, Adanna gave birth to a son. His cry echoed through the compound, sharp and strong, like a talking drum. She named him Chikwudi, God exists. To her, he was not just a child. He was a promise fulfilled, a treasure she had waited for all her life. Adanna's whole world became her son. She sang to him lullabies in the Igbo tongue as she pounded yam. She carried him on her back to the market, the beads on her waist clinking softly with each step. At night, when the cricket sang, she told him stories of tortoise, lion, and hare. Her life was no longer her own. It belonged to him. But joy does not live forever without trial. One rainy season, when the rivers overflowed and the air was thick with mosquitoes, sickness crept into the village. Children began to cough and grow weak. The elders said it was a strange fever that came with the floods. Fear spread through the town like fire in dry grass. One evening, Adanna returned from the farm and found Chikwudi burning with fever. His small body trembled, his lips dry, his eyes heavy. She pressed her hand on his forehead and cried out, "O God, not my only child. Do not take the only song in my heart." She ran to the herbalist, but the herbs brought little relief. She went to the village healer, but the fever grew worse. Then she heard from travelers that a health center in the next town had medicine that could save her boy. The journey was long, 2 days of walking through forests, rivers, and hills. Yet Adanna did not hesitate. She tied Chikwudi on her back with her faded wrapper, packed a calabash of water, and began the journey before sunrise. The path was not easy. She walked barefoot on sharp stones, her feet bleeding, yet she did not stop. When the rain fell, she covered her child with her headscarf while she herself shivered in the cold. At night, she lit a small fire and held him close, whispering prayers into his ear. Hunger gnawed her stomach, but whenever she found a little food, she gave it to him first, keeping nothing for herself. On the second day, as the sun burned high, Adanna grew weak. Her vision blurred, and her steps became heavy. But each time she thought she could not continue, she felt the soft breath of her son on her back, and it gave her strength. With trembling legs, she pressed on. At last, she reached the town. Dusty, exhausted, and faint, she staggered into the small clinic. The nurses rushed to take the child from her back. They gave him medicine, water, and care. Slowly, Chikwidi's fever began to fall. His breathing calmed, and his eyes opened again. The boy was saved. But Adanna's strength had run out. Days of walking without food, nights without sleep, and the cold rain had drained her life. As her son recovered, her own body grew weaker. She lay on a mat in the corner of the clinic, her eyes fixed on her boy. With a faint smile, she whispered, "My son, live. Live for me. Live for the love I carried across rivers and forests. You are my only child, my only gift." Then, like a candle burning to its last flicker, her breath faded into silence. The boy cried, his small hands reaching for her, but Adanna's journey had ended. The villagers brought her body back home, and she was buried under the shade of a mango tree near her hut. People wept, but they also spoke of her strength, a mother who gave everything so her child could live. Years passed. Chikwudi grew into a young man. He became known for his kindness, his courage, and his wisdom. Whenever people asked him why he lived with such purpose, he would say, "Because my mother gave her life so I could breathe. I cannot waste the gift she left me." And so, the memory of Adanna lived on, not just in her son, but in the hearts of all who heard her story. In that village, under the mango tree, mothers would sometimes sit with their children and remind them, a mother's love is deeper than rivers, stronger than mountains, and brighter than the sun. It gives without asking, it sacrifices without counting, and it lives forever in the life of the child. If you find it interesting, make sure you subscribe for more.